Okay, so to build off of our last screencast, let's kind of like learn what Jeet's API can do, like what the whole columns and spans and all this cool stuff. And if you go to the website, it's actually pretty awesome. Like it'll show you exactly what it does. So if you look at column, like read over the little docs for it and click on view an example, it'll show you like an example. So like you can see that like, these are columns. Like each of these elements has column 1/3 applied to it. So it's got like a little space between it. The last one doesn't have a margin right. If you go down here to span, read over that for a second, then check it out, you can see that it doesn't have columns. Edit applies like that light gray background that we saw. So center, you can see that this is centered. Stack at mobile, this will, like, these elements are stacked, so this one's going to go on top of it. So if we shrink it down a little bit, there. So at mobile, you see it stacks on top of it. And yeah, then align here at the very bottom. This will align horizontally and vertically, or you could just say horizontal or vertical. So those are just like some of the things you can do with it. But let's actually like use some of those things. Okay. So we'll go back into our file. I'm going to stick with Stylus from here on out, just because I heavily prefer it to other preprocessor languages. But all the stuff's the same. So like, anytime like you see that, that's a mix-in. So in SAS it would be add include that. So let's see, what can we do here? Okay, so in the content area, like let's say we want to make a bunch of kittens. This is going to be our kitten gallery. So we'll make an image, and the source of that will be placekitten.com, and each of these pictures is going to be 600 by 400, and we'll do 7 of them. Okay. X. Should have square that. Okay. So maybe I need to put. Okay, yeah, okay. So now I've got like these big pictures or whatever. I want them to be like a gallery display inside of here. So, and I also want them to be like, let's say I want them to be the same size as this sidebar here, and have the same like gutter between them. And other grids, this is pretty hard to do, not in Jeet. So our article is taking up a two-third column. So inside of our article here, we've got all these images. So we'll say article image, and then we want each of these to be, if it's taking up, if the sidebar is only taking up 1/3, so we'll say 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So each of these should be, actually, each of these should just be half. 1, 2, 3. So we want 1, 2. Article image 1/2 should take up 1/2. Why aren't they taking up 1/2? Oh, I'm not watching it. But I'm not watching it. Okay. I almost looked like a fool. Okay. So now, check it out. These should just be that size, right? Well, what they're doing, if we inspect them, is Jeet works by floating things to the left and applying a margin right, which is kind of like a good standard for that kind of stuff, if you're not in the whole inline block crowd. So the second one has a margin right as well. So if we just get rid of that margin right, now suddenly it pops up there. But we don't want to, We don't want to do that for every single one of them. So what we can do is just say comma cycle 2. And this will say every second element we don't want there to be margin right. So cool. Got it going. Now the keen eye will notice that this gutter is bigger than this gutter. So, and if you don't believe me, you can inspect these and look at the margin right. And you'll see it's like a little bit off. So what we need to do is do space and then like whatever the container column ratio is set to. And we call this a ratio context or parent ratio. We have to say, space and then whatever that is. Okay. And it's like this with like every fancy new grid. And the reason they do this is just because like the math is too complicated. Like there's no way to figure that out without passing down some sort of like a parent context. And each of them do it a little bit differently. So some of them will tell you to set like a set number of columns. Some of them will tell you, to, I don't know. Most of them tell you to set like a set number of columns and then, reset your grid whenever you want to reset it. Jeet does it a little bit differently because like this is kind of an edge case. Like, you're rarely going to go down more than 1 or 2 levels deep. And this is like from a lot of use. So this just keeps it completely flexible as well. So by doing that, now the columns are exactly the same. So that's pretty sweet. So to avoid confusion, let's just get rid of a bunch of these and we'll just leave one so we can see what we're doing with this next bit. Okay. So now, actually I want that cat to take up the full width. So I'll make him bigger. Oops. Okay. Yeah. Why are you so big, cat? Oh. Okay. So now he's contained to that column, to that article. Okay, so now what I want to do, I want to show you how to do source ordering with Jeet. So first we'll take this sidebar over here, that's the side, and we'll shift it 2/3 to the right. Where'd it go? It went over 2/3 to the right. You see it? So this article, if I shift it negative 1/3, so it's going to go from here and then just go over 1/3. There. Now I've got source ordering. So let's say that I want to have my article over here, and then whenever they go down to mobile or something, I want to put my sidebar with like all the navigation links up at the top. What I can do is I can use this pretty awesome Stylus plugin called Rupture. So npm installed globally Rupture. For a SAS has an equivalent. It's called breakpoint SAS. So we're going to use Stylus, and then say use Jeet, and then another W or another U. Use Rupture. Watch that Stylus file. Okay, check out what Rupture can do. This is pretty cool. So I will say plus below. I'll say below 600 pixels. Actually, just so you can see what this does real quick. Say below 600 pixels, background red. So now whenever it goes below 600 pixels, the background changes to red. Pretty pretty cool. And you can do it like all inline there too, so it's really handy. I'll make this a little bit bigger just so we can see things a little bit clearer. Okay, so let's say I don't want like these shifts to take effect until you're at that size. So what I can do is say, you know, below 900 pixels. And let's just go ahead and turn that into a variable since we're going to be using it. Say BP for breakpoint is 900 pixels. So below our breakpoint, I'm going to shift, and below my breakpoint, I'm going to shift. Okay, so it starts off and the cat's over here, and then as we get smaller, oh, we wanted the opposite, didn't we? So, hang on. So we'll just change that to above and see what that does. Pretty sweet. But we want the sidebar to be above the cat, right? We didn't want just to shift them or whatever. So how about instead of shift, we say stack, and get rid of the other shift as well. Oops. And we'll go back to below. So when we're below our breakpoint, we'll want these to stack. Okay, so here we are in our normal view. And as we go smaller, they stack on top of each other. And I just remembered what our original goal was, so I'll move this shift stuff out, move these back to below, and then stack. Okay, so our original goal was to have you know, the content over here and our sidebar over there. So we're doing that by shifting things. And then whenever you get below that breakpoint, then they stack on top of each other. But they're still shifted. So unshift, unshift. There. Now they're stacked. So now we've just done like source ordering and stacking for our mobile experience. So like that's a lot of the stuff you can do with Jeet. Let's see if there's anything else. Let's go ahead and just get rid of a ton of that stuff. Okay, so we'll say we want our side. I just want to show you what span does real quick. So we'll say let's say column 1/3, and then our article is column 2/3. Okay, fresh. And let's say that like we don't want that that gutter there. So span. Bam. That's how you do it. So yeah, and then align's pretty self-explanatory. If you have an element that has position relative on it, the element inside of it can be aligned. And man, I think we covered everything. Good job. You guys are good students. So anyway, all that stuff's the same in Sassy CSS. If you like want to know the exact syntax, you can always check out the like usage and look at the API to see like the exact syntax and all the cool things you can pass it. For instance, like you can give them specific gutters for specific containers, things like that. And if you don't have the repo handy at the time, you can always just like go into the actual index file and check out the quick reference. So anyway, hope that helps, and see you guys out there.